Hey guys, thanks for watching Weddings by Cled. Once again, we're coming at you from my kitchen with some T&A tips and advice today. So I'm wearing my flower dress. What does that mean? We're talking about flowers. But before we go on, make sure you subscribe. Please subscribe. It's somewhere under here, like the subscribe button, maybe one place on your mobile, one place on your laptop, but just click on it. It doesn't cost anything. If you're an aspiring event planner or a bride-to-be, or just someone who loves hearing about events, it's gonna bring you fresh, new information every single week, and it's gonna help me fulfill my dreams. So why am I so excited? It's happy hour, and we're talking about flowers and decor. So as many of you know, I started out as a planner back in 1997, like a billion years ago. And as I progressed and fulfilled all of the things that you do as a wedding planner, one of my favorite aspects was choosing flowers and decor, making rooms light up, infusing energy, the personalities of the bride and the groom into spaces. That really turned me on. So that is the one aspect of wedding planning that I took on and started doing myself. I learned how to do flowers. I learned how to design flowers. I learned about decor. I learned about all the aspects of event design. And that's something that's probably closest to my heart when it comes to wedding planning, because it is the absolute ambiance of the space. It's the energy. It's when you walk in, you feel the bride and the groom. That is always my mission, so that when guests walk in, they know it is so-and-so. They know it's your wedding. So we're gonna talk today about some of the elements, some of the selections, some tips and advice for you when it comes to event design, flowers, and decor. The first piece of advice is, this is a given actually with a lot of aspects of wedding planning, but you can't actually talk about flowers and decor until you have a venue, okay? Because it's impossible. So I know that you may have your Pinterest board, and I know that you have all of those things that you love and that you've been saving for years. But once you have your venue, then you can select an event designer, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And you can sit down and talk about how you want the venue to look, how you want it to feel. Now, it used to be that you would go to your neighborhood florist, and that's great. That's what I did for my wedding. But you know, things have changed a lot. So it's not just about flowers anymore, as amazing as they are. It's about a complete look. It's about something that gels together. And the elements of it are not just flowers, but lighting, linen rentals. It might be some furniture. It might be some chairs. It might be some draping. It's all of those elements that mix together to make it something that's gonna reflect your personality and something that's gonna be your dream come true. So you wanna find a professional that can meet all of those needs. Now, it might be where it's a traditional neighborhood florist, and then you bring in other professionals to take care of the other items. It might be that your florist offers some of those other items, but you wanna think of it as a complete look and not just about the flowers like it used to be. So the first part is bridal party flowers. That's what I kind of start asking about to see what my bride wants to carry, what her bouquet is gonna look like. Does she wanna carry color, or does she wanna carry traditional white or ivory flowers? And that tells me a lot about what everything else is gonna look like. And I ask to see pictures. It used to be where we would page through magazines, and now we can go on Pinterest, and most of our brides have Pinterest boards, and we can have absolute visuals of what they're thinking and dreaming about, and it really helps us to know what their vision is. Now, let me just give you a little bit of a disclaimer on Pinterest boards. They're awesome, they're great, they're trendy, but you gotta remember that this is your wedding. And while that might be something that's on trend, we wanna infuse you into it. So we can take those things, we can take those colors, we can take those styles, but we wanna make sure that it's congruent with who you are and what your wedding culture is. So we put all of those things together, and we sit down and we converse. And I try to learn about you guys as a couple and what it is that's making your wedding unique. And then we come up with some wonderful ideas and use the resources that we have to put together a look for you, a vision for you. And then you want to consider the decor of your ceremony space. And so what I always tell my brides is think about what's gonna be in the frame of your photographs, okay? So, you know, a lot of brides, if they get married in churches or indoor places, they wanna do like candles in all the windows and flowers in all the windows. And that's amazing. But if you're trying to save money, you don't have to go to that extent. You want to think about what's in the frame of the photography. So you want to make sure, I always like to see aisle decor. I always like to see either something, whether it's just greenery or it's lanterns or it's some architectural designer piece that's going down the aisle, because that's something that you want to have decorated because it's in the frame of the pictures and you want to make sure that it looks lush, you know, and it looks beautiful. You want to make sure that the focal point of the ceremony is something that's not going to be covered when the bridesmaids and the groomsmen are standing there. So the old traditional way was to put like 2 urns with flowers up in the focal point of the ceremony. But you know, if you really think about that, once the bridesmaids and the groomsmen get up there, they're gonna cover that. So I really like doing focal point kind of stuff like, you know, arbors or something that's gonna frame everybody, or nothing at all if you don't have the budget for it, because remember, you're only at the ceremony for what, like 20 minutes maybe? So once your bridesmaids and groomsmen are up there, they're gonna be decorating the space. They're gonna be holding their bouquets. So you wanna think about ceremony decor. How elaborate do you really wanna go for that part of it? You want it to look nice, you want it to look festive and pretty in the pictures, but you really wanna put your money where you're gonna spend the most time, and that's gonna be at the reception. Okay, so for reception decor, the possibilities are absolutely endless. And I wish I could just like impart to you, when I walk into a space, I think my gift is I can visualize exactly how it's gonna look for your wedding. So my work is to convey that to you and put it down on paper and try to convey to you how that's gonna look. And it's a combination of things. It is a combination of linens, and it's a combination of furniture. Chairs have to look a certain way. You think about a space, you think about what takes up the most space in a room, okay? So, you know, a lot of people just kind of think about flowers, but think about this. You might spend a lot of money on a beautiful centerpiece, but if the linens are crappy and you can like see the table legs, or the chairs are really crappy, you walk into this like sea of ugly chairs, those centerpieces aren't gonna make a damn bit of difference. So you wanna think about all the aspects. So maybe you don't spend as much on a centerpiece, or you get different centerpieces. You get more expensive ones, but not for every single table. Like you get the beautiful tall ones for maybe a third of the tables. You know, but you need to like spread out your budget and spend some money on linens, because if you think about like the space that the real estate that the linens take up in the room and that are gonna take up space in the photography, it's a lot. So you wanna make sure you have something that goes to the floor. You wanna make sure that you have something that maybe has a little texture in it, that's got some color in it, you know, or it could be a beautiful all white situation. But you wanna make sure that you're not just thinking about flowers. And then lighting, oh my gosh, lighting is like so important. Here again, you can have the most beautiful flowers, the most beautiful linens, but if the room has like fluorescent lights in it or something, or really bright lights, or lights that don't dim, like why do venues do that? Why do venues have lights that don't dim? So you might have a venue that has lights that don't dim. So what do you need to do? You need to bring in some ambient lighting. And this is something, again, that maybe your florist offers. You may hire a lighting company to do it, an event designer, but having ambient, beautiful lighting is gonna take your reception to a whole nother level. Let me tell you what, it totally is. It just gives it a certain glow, a certain energy, and there's certain colors that just make people look better than others. Like green, no bueno. But like a nice amber, everybody looks really glowy and romantic. And of course, I can't say enough about candlelight. Some venues don't allow it, and you've got to get like those like LED candles, which are not my favorite thing in the world. But you always want to consider having some type of decorative lighting in the room. So be it LED uplighting, or you can do some really cool stuff with like intelligent lighting, moving lights, dance lighting. I'm not saying that it has to look like a nightclub. Actually, I don't recommend that for a wedding, but there's some really cool things you can do with dance lighting to make it feel super festive and super beautiful. Gobos. Do you know what a gobo is? Okay, so it's one of those like reflections that you see on the wall that sometimes may have a monogram or a certain icon or a certain graphic that's customizable to you. I love them, they're beautiful. And that's another element to decor that can really personalize your wedding. So one thing about flowers, a lot of people say to me, you know, I only want to have flowers that are in season, you know, and I get that, you know, because they assume that they're going to be cheaper if they're in season. But I don't necessarily agree with that, because most popular wedding flowers like roses, like hydrangea, are in season all year long. That's just the way it is. I mean, I can get anything from anywhere. Now, there are certain things that are a little bit better looking during certain seasons, like peonies are always better in early spring. Any type of bulb flower like tulips or crocus, or you know, anything that's got a bulb is going to be a lot more lush and large early spring. Things get a little smaller in summer, and then there are things that look great in the fall. But don't worry so much about what's in season. You know, I think just look for what you like. You know, look for pictures of what you like and show your florist, show your designer. If it's someone you trust, they're gonna be honest with you, and they're gonna say, you know, this isn't gonna work during your wedding season. Here's a great substitute. But I think you need to give them a little bit of creative license and have trust in them, you know, so that they can put together a look that's gonna be great for you. Here's another little pointer with decor. If you wanna have a beautiful space, but you don't wanna break the bank, just focus on your focal points, okay? So you might not have the budget to have an amazing centerpiece on every single table, but spend the money on that like amazing entry arrangement, or those amazing food table arrangements, or we call them tall and fluffies at Cled, and they're kind of a signature style. They're tall arrangements that are just like beautiful and fluffy, and you know, I mean, they're just amazing. And everybody wants those on every single table, but they're expensive. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. So maybe just have those on the tables that are surrounding the dance floor, so that we see those in the pictures that are important. But on all the other tables in the tablescape, just do like a montage of candles or something. It's totally acceptable, but you're just concentrating on the focal points in the room, the things that are going to be photographed. And it's not something that guests even notice. I'm telling you, when guests walk in, you just want to have an ooh-ah kind of a situation. But these little secrets help so that your photographs look amazing, but you're not breaking the bank on decor, because flowers can get really expensive if you have a lot of them. So something that drives me nuts when brides come into my showroom and they sit down and they say, oh, I've purchased 600 vases, or I've purchased 300 mason jars. And I'm like, don't do that. That's not necessary, because most professional florists and event designers are gonna have a full inventory of the items you need. Because let me ask you, what are you gonna do with 300 mason jars after the wedding? Oh, and by the way, they're not in style anymore. You know, and again, this is the relationship between wedding decor and photography. You want an event designer who's really gonna help you know where the focal points of the room are and where most of the photography is going to be taken, and make sure that there's nothing unsightly in those spaces. And that's usually where your event designer can come in. For instance, the cake is a really important focal point of the wedding. And a lot of times I've seen the cake placed in front of, you know, in ballrooms, how they have those air walls, and there's like an air wall seam, and it's not pretty, and it might be right behind where the cake is. Well, that might be a section that you want to ask your event designer to maybe throw some drape up. Let me tell you, it makes a huge difference in your photography to have that little bit of drape. Now, you could have your whole room draped for a really sexy and romantic look, but if that's not in your budget, you might just want to have the focal points draped. Sometimes we just drape behind the head table. You know, sometimes people do these really long head tables, and there's a lot of photographs being taken of those. So you don't want to have like a yucky background on those. So you might want to consider draping behind the head table, and just draping behind the cake, and any other focal points that are really going to be photographed. Okay guys, so thanks for listening about my favorite topic, floral and decor. I know I'm a little crazy today because it's my favorite topic and I could just go on and on and on about it, but I want to hear what you have to say. So leave any questions you may have in the comments, and thank you so much for watching Weddings by Cled.